Because life doesn't work like that, Jacqueline. Life likes to fuck with us.
Don't know why. Seems like so much extra effort.
All right.
Seems interesting.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Games Are Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Monkee.
I'm Saturn.
Quill.
And Mort may be joining us intermittently. He's driving and may have internet issues, so we may get him on audio with some background noise. So, today, what we wanted to talk about was we want to kind of continue from last week and discuss tabletop role-playing and how it has influenced video games, and also how video games have in turn influenced tabletop role-playing. So, just to get started, this just to kind of give you some history and some background. Video games tabletop role-playing has had a huge effect on video games going back to the 80s, with the original Rogue and roguelikes with Ancient Domains of Mystery, NetHack, all those good things. Which were based off of one of the early editions of D&D. I forget if it was Advanced or Basic, but editions were kind of a funny thing back then because they didn't really have them per se. But yeah, so this has been they've had a big effect on things for a number of years, and going up through. Even today, where you have stuff like Pillars of Eternity and Torment Tides of Numenera, which is coming out at the end of the month, based on more modern role-playing systems and whatnot, and kind of that same, using those same mechanisms and ideas to create something. So, what I wanted to start with is... we'll start with you, Saturn. So, I just kind of want to get your thoughts in general about what you think about this. Like, from your perspective, what is it that, from either direction, whether it's tabletop to video games or video games to tabletop, how do you feel that they've been affected over the years, or at least in your experience?
Let's see. I don't know. Truthfully, I haven't really had much experience with, I guess them, going back and forth so much. I've had a couple encounters with it. I think I mentioned last week that I was sort of introduced to the Vampire the Masquerade, tabletop, the pen and paper stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I played the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines computer game.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty cool. I know there's been a lot of just things that have been sort of just based off of one or the other. It'll be tabletop RPG to game and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But there hasn't been a lot that I played. I played. I'm not even sure if I'm answering the question at this point.
That's okay. Just go where you need to with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for what I've experienced of it, I think it's been they've affected each other well. Some good stuff has come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned before starting the podcast, the idea of roguelike, just the format of roguelikes goes back and forth really well. Hey, Mort's here.
Hold on a sec. Gotta adjust technical issues. Gotta adjust some things real quick.
So yeah, fair warning. That's probably going to happen a lot.
Okay. We'll just
going through a lot of non-existent country right now.
Okay. We'll just leave that as is then, and we'll work on it from there. That way we don't get that.
Can I say internet right now? Hi, internet.
Internet.
But yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, could continue on, Saturn.
What was I saying? Just the way that roguelikes play kind of goes with both formats, like both with video games and with like art, like tabletop and stuff like that. I think it goes back and forth pretty well because I guess games like, I don't know, like Betrayal at House on the Hill or stuff like that, or just anything that's dungeon delvey or like deck building, kind of work in the same way.
Mm.
And once the game ends, that's it. You start over.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I answered your question at all, but
It's all right. We'll work through it. So, Quill, same idea. From your experience, what have you seen that where whether it's tabletop to roleplay to video games or video games to tabletop, how do you think they've affected one another?
Well, mine's kind of like just from what I know of games. Like I mentioned last week, this is the first time I've actually played in a role-play game is right now. Like properly, anyways. But like my mom and my dad, my dad introduced my mom to it, but they played Rogue a lot when they were younger, and
Sure.
that's pretty much just like a visual version of like a digital version of a lot of tabletop games that they played.
Right. Yeah.
From what I understand, and it's kind of like, from what I've seen of the gameplay, it almost looks like Doom. Like, I feel like a lot of the early video games were just based off of that model. Like, it was just like they went slowly from graphics, like lines and letters, to like pixels, to more and more advanced. Like, anything that's like a dungeon crawl style video game, I feel like would have been based off of that. And then they just kind of went from there and like realized, hey, we don't have to stick to the old game mechanics because we can kind of do whatever we want with the digital graphics.
Right. Yeah. And plus, they started figuring out is like we did like they didn't necessarily have to base things purely on the original source material. Like they could modify things because it's a video game, and knowing that in a video game, all you have is the actual items and artifacts and things within the game to use. Whereas in a tabletop role-playing game, you can literally make things up as you go, and you can adapt to things as they happen. Whereas with video games, you have to have everything defined and structured, and there has to be this thing that exists in the world for you to interact with, and you're a certain kinds of interactions that you can do.
Yeah.
Like, isn't rogue like where we get the term roguelike?
Yeah, that's exactly where we get it from. Yeah, there was Rogue, and then the others like it, NetHack, Adam, and a number of others. All of those come from that same genre, where
Yeah.
you basically. Oh yeah, go ahead, Quill.
Sorry, really quick, Chris isn't showing up on the,
Yeah, I did that intentionally. Just
Okay.
Oh, just
because it so wouldn't be
Sorry, Saturn.
changing back and forth because Mort having some connection issues. So I'm just gonna leave it where it is.
Alright.
it's fine. I didn't see my notes.
But yes,
Sorry to
that,
interrupt.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, nope. I'm blanking.
Okay.
I'll figure it out in a minute.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Well. So. Mort. What's your take on it? How do you think tabletop and video games have affected one another over the years?
And he's gone.
And we lost Mort. Of course we did.
Right on cue, just as you finished answering the question.
I was just, yeah, he was quiet for a moment there. I'm just like, I may be talking to no one right now.
Oh well, whatever.
Okay, well, I guess I'll answer my own question and give it to him if and when he shows up again.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh yeah. So from my perspective, I mean, I feel that especially for video games, especially within the RPG genre, is tabletop has had a huge influence on it. Like I've said, you have Rogue was like one of the starting ones, but you also have stuff like the gold box D&D games back in the early mid 90s, things like Eye of the Beholder and Ravenloft, and there were a few others. You had the Infinity Engine games, Baldur's Gate, Torment, Icewind Dale, and so on and so forth. And like I mentioned earlier, you got the more recent ones like Wasteland and Pillars of Eternity and the new Torment, Torment Tides of Numenera. Yeah, in that sense, I think it's had a huge effect, especially D&D specifically, because they've been licensing that out for years and using that to try various things. On the other side of it is, what we're seeing more and more, especially since, about 2005, 2010, somewhere around there, role-playing games started integrating ideas from video games in the sense that because role-playing is such an open medium in terms of what you can do, sometimes you end up with a certain amount of paralysis in terms of okay, I could do anything, which means I'm going to do nothing. So what certain systems tried to do, especially with 4th edition D&D, is I know there's some controversy behind that, but the intent behind it was they wanted to give players discrete actions and abilities where they can say, okay, I have these 7 things I can do, and I will pick from one of them, and then we'll see what happens.
I remember earlier you were mentioning that with D&D you can kind of come up with anything. And from what I understand, I used to talk to my dad about this a little. That kind of depends a little bit on your DM. If they have an entire thing mapped out, they're he says that he's had DMs where they weren't necessarily good DMs, but if you screwed with their systems, they would forcibly pull you back on track.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which at some point is probably necessary.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a certain amount of give and take between you and the GM, whereas you've wandered so far afield that you're oh, I'm not even kind of trying to do what I was intending to do originally, and I've just wandered off the path. And then there's, but of course, at least in my experience, GMs have to be careful not to basically impose their will, so to speak, on the players and be no, you're playing the game wrong, kind of thing.
Yeah, that mentality sort of defeats the purpose of D&D, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be sort of you make your own adventure. Personally, I think I benefit from there being some structure. Basically, I work well with structures that a lot of video game RPGs work, where it's just you have this big open world, and then you have a main quest, but you also have a bunch of side stuff that you can do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But you're still sort of you have freedom, but it's still sort of contained.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, that just my mind is able to cope, not cope. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but sort of understand what to do, and I don't feel I don't feel lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
You were saying that there was controversy about the new D&D edition?
Well, okay. So broadly speaking, especially in tabletop role playing, game in particular with games that have been going on for years and years. So things like D&D, Shadowrun, World of Darkness, stuff like that. Anytime they've had a major edition shift where they've had big changes to the game, with D&D, almost every single edition they've had, well, it's kind of the same thing every time. There's been really seismic shifts in how the game works and what's available to the players. So and everybody tends to have their favorite edition, and they get really, some people can get really, really agitated about this. It's like, 4th edition was especially divisive just because it diverged so much from what like 3rd and 2nd edition and earlier ones had done.
Like I remember, I remember hearing that there was controversy when 5th edition came out.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. 5th edition, because 5th edition, I would say, took like pieces from like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and kind of amalgamized them into this new thing, which I really like. But I can see like people that were like big fans of 3rd edition or Pathfinder, which was an offshoot of it, how they wouldn't like that. It's it's kind of that same idea of reducing the amount of stuff available to the characters so that there's you don't end up with that analysis paralysis. Like, I have too many things to deal with, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, probably like 5th edition.
Yeah. If you like something a bit simpler, a bit like less crunchy, so to speak, in terms of the rules, 5th edition is definitely a good starting point if you want to get into D&D. Okie dokie.
Well, and I was going to say, like, there's no reason that you can't, like, start on the simpler versions and move up.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. It'd be like if you play 5th edition, you find out, like, okay, I like this, but I want some more. You might migrate over to, say, Pathfinder, or you might try, any number of different things. But yeah, you could definitely start off with a simpler RPG and move into something more complex once you kind of figure out, okay, this is how RPGs work. Now I want to play with more stuff and get more interaction with the mechanics. Okay. So next up, I want to kind of explore the idea of where was I going with this? Yep, I lost my train of thought. It's gone.
Happens to the best of us. I have actually heard like a lot of people who have not played Pathfinder just don't like Pathfinder. That it just seems like overly convoluted.
It is in terms of like what's available to you. There is a lot of complexity to it, and it's also because it's basically an iteration of 3rd edition D&D. You have some like weird vestigial things that are in there as well. Be like, why does this even exist, and things like that. So yeah, it's because I want to say the Pathfinder core rulebook is like 500 pages. But granted, that also includes all the GMing stuff and the world building stuff and things like that. So the actual player information doesn't need all of that. But yeah, it is definitely complicated for someone just jumping into it because you have all these different stats and abilities and things you have to keep track of.
See if we can actually look at a Pathfinder score sheet or character sheet.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Just to see what.
Well, I mean, like, with the strains that we're using right now, the rule book's like, what, 400 pages or something?
Right. But also if you think about it, like they make a separate PDF that they call it's like character creation or something like that. Oh, yeah. Welcome back.
What's up? I found a town, so I'm getting gas.
Okay, cool.
Yay.
Okay, I just pulled up Pathfinder score sheet, and this just looks just awful.
It's like, what is this? What am I looking at? Yeah.
I mean, no offense whatsoever to anyone who plays Pathfinder. Like, you do you probably have fun with it, but I'm just looking at this, it's like, I don't know how I would be able to keep track of all this.
You're looking at the SRD or something?
I was looking at, like, a Pathfinder character sheet.
Oh, I mean, it's basically just a D&D sheet with a few extras. Have you ever played like Palladium or any of the systems under Palladium?
No, I'm trying to think. Like I've done the Strange and like 13th Age, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
And like I'm just looking at it, and then this is just a lot more stuff to look at or just keep track of than I'm used to. So.
Yeah, man. Play any game by Palladium and then go to Pathfinder, and you're like, wow, this character sheet's almost empty.
Yeah. Palladium stuff is complicated to the point of, why did you do this?
There's good reasons for all of it, but like, there are definitely times when like you're bringing a new player into the game where it's like initial character creation can be 6 or 8 hours. If you're very experienced and know exactly what you're doing, 1 hour.
Right.
Well, and it's funny because like we complain about it, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you look at the writer recommendation character sheets that get passed around during NaNoWriMo every year, yeah.
Oh God.
Like,
Wait.
we don't have stats to deal with, but holy crap, I've filled out a 4.5 page character sheet once for a character that was just passed around during NaNoWriMo camp. Like, why?
That sounds horrible.
I mean, it's totally fun, so I could see why doing it for a character you're actually going to get to play with is appealing, but...
Yeah, totally.
It's like that. It doesn't sound horrible, but just like...
Yeah.
Like, from the... Like, it's fun making characters. I'll give you that, but just after a while, it's like, oh my God, this is so much stuff. Then again, I'm like, I've only played like 2 systems, so...
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can definitely understand the sentiment of looking at a character like sheet like that when you're brand new to this stuff, and you're like, this is very intimidating. What does all this mean?
Like,
Yeah.
13th Age and The Strange have just been like, they've been like 1 page.
Mhm.
And like, 1 page as in there's just like a chunk here, chunk here, chunk here, chunk here, and it's like not a whole lot to keep track of, and then just seeing something like that, it's like, okay.
Yeah, no, it has been really hilarious, though, with the whole, like, you are a spinner can... I don't remember what they all are. Like, okay, mine's like, spinner can speak to the dead, and something else. And then it's like, here, go here, and here, and here in the rulebook. And I'm like, oh, thank God, you don't make me, like, search through this manually.
Right, you actually tell me where to go to do this.
Like,
Which
thank
some
you.
games are bad with that. It's just like, and I'm supposed to do what now?
It's like, thank you, I don't have to keep people waiting. Because I did that when we did our 13th Age. I was like, oh, give me a minute, I'm looking something up.
Right.
Like, it'd take me like 10 minutes to find it, like, one thing.
Yeah.
A
13th Age.
master's degree in gaming.
Yeah. Yeah. 13th Age is at least decent in that it has like an annotated glossary. So if you're like, what does this term mean? You could go to the back, look it up, and it'll tell you the exact... Not only it'll give you a definition, but it'll tell you where to find it in the book.
It's handy.
Excuse me.
How about that sports team?
Brain's blanking really hard today for some reason.
Gas gets more expensive when you're not inside of a main city and you're right off the freeway because they know they got you by the short and curlies.
I was gonna say, because you have no options.
You
There
have
you go.
nowhere to go.
It's a solid quarter more than gas that I bought this morning right next to my house.
Right.
Oh my God.
Monsters. And the pump's all like beat up.
It's kind of funny because I feel like there are some things where it's like we can't even tell how all everything's been affected, like as far as tabletops to video games, like unless we could visit like an alternate dimension where just tabletop never existed before video games.
Sure.
Like there's no way to know all of the things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That would make
That's a strange and boring dimension.
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
like, there's definitely like a
Quill
correlation.
said
Like,
your
a lot
topic
of,
is boring and I'm going home.
like a lot of the
Well,
best
like-
RPGs are very D&D-esque.
yeah. But like, think about how many like. Okay, so I mentioned Doom earlier. Like, think about how many games were based off of Doom or any or like Link even like any Legend of Zelda stuff. Like anything that was a you go through this area and fight the monsters that show up. Like those video games all probably were at least loosely based around tabletop gaming. So if that hadn't been our go-to thought for gaming, what would have been the first video games? Like, what would they have been like?
Given humanity, probably something a little bit punching stuff or sex. Because that's just who we are as a race.
Yeah, I mean, fair point.
We develop things for military purposes, and we perfect them for erotic purposes. I'm not saying I agree with it, I'm just pointing out.
Right.
Sometimes I wonder where humanity's going, and then I remember that shit exists. And so, oh, okay. Well, this can end well. This can only end well.
Can I say I would hope it would have been something like, I don't know, like the Jelly Farmer game that Saturn has.
Oh yeah, Slime Rancher. That game is adorable.
But I mean, okay, so I saw a game concept that somebody came up with. I don't remember if it was Facebook or Tumblr. That somebody was saying, like, what if there was a game where what was that one game a couple years ago where like you could play either as the team or the monster that came out?
Oh, Evolve?
By Daylight?
Yeah, that.
Oh wait,
they were like, what if you had something similar to Evolve where like you could either play as the humans or the Bigfoots, and then like if you were a human, your job was to try and get a picture of a Bigfoot, and if you were Bigfoot, your job was to avoid the humans. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like a ton of fun. But it's also just like so far out of left field.
Yeah, that kind of asymmetric multiplayer that you're talking about it's kind of few and far between. Like, I don't know if you ever played Giant's Citizen Kabuto, but with that one, you had you basically had three factions. You basically had this giant monster that you could play. You had this group of like sort of like sea nymphs that had these magical powers, and then you had these little guys with jetpacks and rocket launchers and technology and whatnot. And you all three of those had to kind of figure out how to approach each other, because like the giant was good at squishing the little guys, but he was also very slow and not particularly mobile and things like that. And the sirens had a lot of magical abilities, but they tend to die fairly easily and things like that. So yeah, it's always interesting to try and balance that asymmetric, where it's not obviously like one side or the other is going to win most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually ever played like an asymmetric game like that. Like they look fun.
Although technically you could just have, and I mean, like, yeah, it would require balancing the characters, but wouldn't technically an asymmetric game be like if you had, I don't know, like if you had Overwatch, but one side could only ever pick Reaper and one side could only ever pick Soldier 76 or something like that? Wouldn't that still count as an asymmetric game?
Oh yeah, totally. Like if you had some sort of game mode where like this side can only have these people, but everyone else can pick whatever they want. It could be an interesting thing where you essentially have to kind of solve the puzzle of like, okay, they obviously are going to have these abilities, so what do we do to counter them? And then the team that only has this set of abilities, like how do you help them move forward? Do you make them more powerful? Do you give their abilities shorter cooldowns? Stuff like that.
It's actually being explored right now in Overwatch. They've got about to go up in the PTR is going to be a new custom game mode where you've got a server list like they had back in the 90s, and you can customize pretty much everything about the game. I think Jeff Kaplan, you can double check me on this, but in his kind of announcement trailer, he gave an example of a game type where you have one team that's just one Roadhog with double health, and like shorter cooldowns, and then the other team was 6 players who could play whatever they wanted, but they were all at like half health, and like couldn't use certain abilities or something.
Right.
You call it like king.
Yeah, and who was it that it was? Lionhead Studios was actually working on a Fable one for a while, but that got killed a few months back, which was really strange because from what I heard, it was the way it was supposed to work is you would have like 4 heroes like you did in the Fable games, those sort of people, and the 4th person was basically a dungeon master where they would drop in monsters and turrets and stuff and basically try to impede them the whole way to their goal. But for whatever reason,
Legends?
yeah, I think that was the name of it.
I want one to go with Skyrim.
Yes, that'd be interesting.
Like set up this horror room, and then when people are like, okay, all right, we're gonna have to like kite people out of that room, wait for them all to get ready to kite, and then just drop a couple of trolls in the room that they're gonna try and kite to.
Right, exactly. It's like they don't necessarily know what's going to happen next. Yeah.
That sounds like a dream. I would play nothing but the Game Master.
Yeah. It kind of has that, even though you're not playing against someone else, Left 4 Dead always had that kind of asymmetric feel as well because of the director AI, because you never really knew what was going to happen, so you always had to react to the new situation.
Yeah, like wasn't there like a thing where just like the AI gets better as you do better?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It basically scales the difficulty according to your performance. So if you're doing poorly, it tends to dial things back, and if you're doing well, it'll ramp it up and make it harder for you.
I guess that explains like this, like the multiple occasions. Because I would play Left 4 Dead just completely incorrectly.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. There's also the versus mode in Left 4 Dead, which is actual asymmetric sort of thing, where one side is playing the hunters and the other side playing zombies.
That's right. I never played that.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, you could play like just a normal zombie, and you'd like try to blend into the crowd and hope you didn't get shot.
The Assassin's Creed game is another example of that, where you've got one team who's being assassins, the other team who's just trying to look like normal.
I think there was actually one thing that I saw. I can't remember what the game is, but it was like I think it was an RPG Maker game, or it at least looked like one, where it's like a bunch of like random players would be, like a bunch of players would you just be like in like just in a room with a bunch of other sprites that are just trying to walk across to the other side of the room, but like the AI is like intentionally like super janky, and I think there's like one player who's like trying to single out, okay, who is a player and who is just like an AI, like what's just an AI entity, like which of these is a real person, and try to kill kill all of them before they get to the other side. So it's like it's up to the players to just sort of blend in with the rest of them and just act like super weird.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like what Mort was mentioning earlier is there's a game called The Ship, where basically someone basically you're all on this boat, and it's a common I think there's one assassin, and then there's a combination of computer controlled NPCs and everyone else is player control. So what everyone has to do is they have to behave like they're NPCs, so the assassin doesn't figure out that they're a real person. And so, but the trick with the assassin is they also have to kill someone that is actually a player. They can't just kill random people.
Wasn't that Assassin's Creed Unity or whatever?
I think they did something similar to that, yeah, in the multiplayer.
I definitely remember somebody saying that was a thing that they did.
Yeah, they've done stuff like that in Assassin's Creed before. Yeah.
Which actually, they had one game where you were like a Templar protecting your targets. That could be potentially fun for asymmetric gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not asymmetric, but one person be the Templar, one person be the Assassins.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Instead of playing against computers.
Mm.
It's always more interesting when that happens because humans always find some weird way to fuck it up that the computers never would have thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just kind of a weird thing where it's just like the AI is expected to act a certain way, and it's like, okay, I need to act like AI. How does the AI work? Okay, act like I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like one of those things where I think someone actually made a game mode for Gary's mod of it as well, where it's like you have to blend in with a bunch of NPCs, and it's like one of those things where it's just like if you attack an NPC, they won't always run away from you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like if someone's shooting you, it's like, do you stick it out or do you try walking away?
Right. Exactly.
just slow-mo runaways, like those really weird NPCs that are like, do you not have a speed that is more than 2 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Right.
Like I think the actual NPCs in that game mode can actually run.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's another thing. So, like NPC interactions for I haven't encountered any in our game yet, really.
Right.
Like maybe a couple. But they were always controlled by the DM, and then same thing when you got to video games, there were like only specific actions that you could like interact with the NPCs for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you asked them something, they would only have like 1 or 2 voice lines for no matter how many times you asked them something. Whereas when you get to like The Witcher 3, people start branching out with those too. Like
Mm-hmm.
the NPCs are actually more interactive. Or if you have like Mass Effect, where if you try talking to them so many times and they're like, fuck off, stop talking to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I'm social. Go away.
Well, part of that is kind of evolution in programming and how that they could approach different things, because in a tabletop role-playing game, you obviously have someone that could immediately respond to what you're doing, and they kind of inherently understand the motives of the characters that they're playing, so that they know how to respond to you when you do different things. But within a video game, you always have to create discrete responses to everything, and like every response you have to even if it's just different dialogue choices, that's more things they have to program, more things they have to put in there. And especially early on, where space was very limited, it's like, we can't do all of this stuff. We have to decide, okay, you talk to this person, they give you a single line of dialogue, and that's it. But yeah, just as things evolved over the years, they could start doing, dialogue trees, and even doing things like reactive storylines, where if I do this thing, I'm actually going to go in a different direction, and then it's going to do something else will happen. Like in what was it, The Witcher 2? Like the third act, you could or was it the second act? Basically, you could make 2 mutually exclusive choices, where the second act played out completely differently depending on who you sided with.
yeah, those games are really cool, but at the same time they scare me, because it's like, what if I screw up?
What if I do it wrong?
Well,
That's my favorite. Especially when they make it so that you have to screw up. Both choices are wrong, and then you feel like you made the wrong choice.
Right.
Yeah.
All the choices are bad. Pick one.
Like a
that is actually like The Witcher 3 though. Like there's like the big endings, right? Like that are depending on, I think it's like 5 or 6 specific choices that you make. The big ending has.
Here, let me throw the spoilers up, and we can talk in depth about The Witcher.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's the slap.
Yeah. So
Just remember
there's
to
like
take it down this time.
Yes, I will remember. We had that problem last episode.
There's like the big ending, which is influenced by like 5 or 6 specific choices that you make, but then there's also like a lot of little things at the end. Like they just kind of play out as part of the ending, but like essentially I think there's like 3 big endings that you can get, but then there's like a series of smaller ones that you can get.
The different variations on it and whatnot.
So many different variations, all of the variations, based on decisions you made earlier in the game. So it seems less like, I don't know, like your choices don't matter in the game. But yeah, there's a couple choices that are kind of fail.
Yeah, I remember my first playthrough of The Witcher 3 is I didn't know about the different endings, so I just played the game how I was playing it without realizing what was going to happen. And I ended up getting the bad ending where Ciri died and Geralt basically goes and commits suicide by monsters. I'm like, wow, this is dark. This is terrible. It was so bad I went and looked it up after that. I'm just like, is this the only ending?
There's a lot of people who got that ending though. Like, and that was I went and looked through like the specific choices that you had to make in order to get that, and like I mean some of them were like obviously duh, like why would you make this choice? But then like a couple of them were like that seems like he made the right choice there.
Right.
So
but I think
there's actually, I think it's in Bloodstone. I don't. One of the DLCs. You meet a guy who's. Oh, there goes Mort.
We lost Mort again.
You meet a guy who is. I don't know. Essentially, one of the DLCs. At the end of it, if you want, you can essentially just ask them how to beat the game, like with the best ending possible.
Right.
Like that's a thing that they will actually instruct you to do. But outside of that, like I'm like, how would you know? Like for most of them, it seems fairly, but there's I think at least 2 where I was watching and I was like, that did not seem like the choice that would have been best, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think in particular with Ciri, the whole idea was and I agree with you. There were a couple where it was like where it's like this is kind of ambiguous. This doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing. Like Ciri basically had one of them. The choice is like, let's get really drunk or let's have a snowball fight. I'm like, basically one of her mentors died because of her. Getting drunk isn't necessarily a bad option. It's like, I need to go do something and not think about this for a while.
Just take a break.
Just to be fair, snowball fights are pretty fun, but
yeah.
No, I was thinking more. Okay, and I'm sorry, these are actually very big spoilers in the game.
Well, that's why I have the spoiler banner up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just usually when we do spoilers, it's like, it's kind of a spoiler, I guess.
Yeah.
There's one of the options that you have is Ciri tells you that she's like freaking out about talking to these sorceresses.
Right.
And you can either choose to go with her or you can choose to not. And if you go with her, she gives, like, while you're talking, she gives you signals that she's not happy with what you're doing. But up until that point, there's nothing that says what you should pick one way or another.
Yeah. And
it's like, come on!
And I get what you're saying there, but part of, at least the feeling I got throughout the game is, Geralt is like a father figure to Ciri, and they both realize this and acknowledge this, but Geralt also realizes that Ciri's not a kid anymore, and he has to let her do what she needs to do. And that's kind of, I think the idea behind it is you have to let Ciri be Ciri, and then let her make her own mistakes, even if it's not the best outcome.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I came into The Witcher 3 with no prior knowledge of anything in The Witcher series.
Right.
But like my instinctive reaction to that was like, oh well, if you don't feel comfortable, like I don't exactly trust these people either.
Yeah, that was the whole idea was Geralt was basically saying, you're good, you're strong, you're confident, you can deal with these women, and if you say no, they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
So,
Hang on a sec, guys. My roommate's back.
Okay.
Yeah, thing is with games like that, I'm always compelled to kind of basically like, how would I respond to this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And then if it ends very poorly, it's like, am I a bad person?
So sometimes you have choices and you just have to make a choice. There's not a good one to make.
It's like, the lesser of two evils, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was game was it like there was the like RPG Maker game Lisa, which is like there's like multiple, I guess, sort of multiple choices you can make, but you already kind of go into it just like, okay, this is gonna end horribly no matter what happens, so it's like, whatever. Like I'm gonna feel terrible regardless of what I do. So
yeah, and what a lot of games like that end up doing, they did it with they've done it with Mass Effect, they've done it with Dragon Age, let's see, a few others, the original KOTOR, and the sequel too. But basically you start out with like a tutorial area, and you just like it's basically a linear path until you figure out how the game works, and then it's just like, okay, you can go in whatever direction you want to, and then you can kind of follow whatever path you need to, and then at the end it's linear again. So they can basically make all these discrete things, and you can just decide how you want to go to them.
Mm-hmm. Like I remember, I think BioShock Infinite did it. Well, I think this was mainly just because it fits with the story, like just fits with like the whole sort of like undertone of what Infinite was. It's like you had a bunch of like little choices that you could make that I think it was supposed to give you like the assumption that's like, oh, I'm like what I'm doing is actually influencing how this pans out. But it's like, but in the end, it's like it doesn't matter. Everything, like regardless what you do, everything will just wind up. You'll always wind up back here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that was kind of playing with that trope of saying like your choices are really illusions. You can make them, but they don't matter.
Because like the first two games really played off of that. Like you had to be careful what you do, like who you kill. Did you save the little sisters? Did you take them? Did you harvest them? And depending on what you did,
right.
It's just like you get like a different ending.
Sure.
Okay, yep. Sorry guys.
Okay,
hey.
Welcome back.
I had a thing I was gonna say earlier. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about kind of like choices in in games and kind of the illusion of choice and things of that nature.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. So,
okay.
One thing that I did really appreciate about The Witcher, though, like as frustrating as it was having so many options and so many choices that you could potentially fuck up big time.
Yeah.
I appreciated that, like, they were choices that you can make. Like, that is, like you were saying earlier, I know there's like a shit ton of coding that comes with, but it's a lot better than games where it's like you can make a choice, but no matter what you choose, the ending is pretty much going to be the same thing. So.
Right. Yeah. Like Telltale games are notoriously bad about that. It's just like they will remember this, but it won't matter at all.
Yeah.
It'll affect like a single line of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the one fucking thing. Like as much as I enjoyed like season 1 and 2 of The Walking Dead, just Kenny's character, like it was just like, let it go. I disagreed with you one time, but I agreed with you on everything else, literally everything else, and you won't let go this one time I disagreed with you.
It's one time.
It's just episodes later.
What's it called? A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy had an option like that. I think like once or twice. Like there's literally it was essentially a quick time event, but in text-based format.
Right.
Depending on how you reacted to like this one event would depend later on whether this small civilization went to war or not.
Right.
And I think they died in the end anyway, so it didn't really matter. But
Yeah, that's right. It was like if you input like an incorrect like command that like the console didn't recognize, it'll like sometime along the line it'll just like display this thing. It's just like you need to watch what you say because the thing you said transferred through went through a wormhole and went to like an ancient civilization, and the thing you said they were negotiating a peace treaty, and then your voice echoed throughout the room and then caused like a huge misunderstanding, and then they went to war for like a couple millennia.
Right. Yeah, I remember. You guys ever played Sunless Sea?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
oh hey, the banner's still up.
Well, yeah, we've been talking about stuff, so yes, it's okay.
I think is it? It is that game. Okay. Like I've never played it, but I'm pretty sure I've seen someone play it.
But yeah, I always I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the game itself, just because I'm not necessarily a huge fan of roguelikes and the whole genre. But that one in particular did something interesting with the random encounters and stuff. Just because, I remember one in particular, I sailed out to this port and ended up doing something like I found this kingdom of intelligent mice and weasels, and I sided with the mice and overthrew the weasel government or something like that. I'm just like, this is weird and interesting and wonderful, and I got you get different things depending on which group you side with.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know
I
what
kid you
happened
not.
with us?
I kind of just added that to my wish list.
Yeah,
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
My brother and I were playing that a little bit this summer, and I don't remember why I stopped playing. I think it was lagging my computer. Also, I made a decision I was unhappy with, and I was like, I am not going all the way through to fix this, but also, there was a couple of choices that you could make where it was like, do you wish to side with X or side with Y? And depending on which one you sided with, you got different loot, essentially, at the end.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then there's some where it's like, depending on which one you side with, depends on who ends up ruling the country.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and shifts your light dark side alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
actually,
game that.
now that I think about it, that's almost entirely a game of choices affecting.
Oh yeah, it's a constant stream of choices. It's be like, okay, almost everything. It's just like I can make a good choice, a bad choice, or the one thing I wish they had worked on more is they did this more in the second one, but there was never really an incentive to be neutral, take the middle path. There's always the incentive to be either really, really dark side or really, really light side.
Yeah. Which was always just so sad.
Yeah. Though I do like how in the second one they did it was a lot more nuanced in how they explored it and dealt with it. There was still that kind of problem, but the actual situations you were dealing with were just much more nuanced and had a lot more depth to them in terms of the moral underpinnings and why did we actually go to war and things like that.
I really.
Yeah. Although,
really
to be
need to play
fair,
that game.
Sorry, go ahead, Saturn.
Oh, it's nothing. It was just a comment. I've never actually played Knights of the Old Republic, but it's just been on and off my list for a while.
I was gonna say you can get. I think you can get it on GOG for $6.
It's actually $1 right now on Humble.
Oh,
on Humble Bundle. So
go for it, brave one.
the main thing is I've got a bunch of games that I need to finish, and also not a huge amount of time to actually play them. So it's should I add another game to my list?
Yeah,
do that now.
It becomes the great digital pile in which you're I don't think I've even played half of these.
Yeah, I think I played. I think at most I played each of these at least a half hour.
Yeah.
Okay, go. You were saying, Quill?
So, and the Old Republic is just an online one thing. But I do feel like that the light side, dark side extreme, I do kind of blame Star Wars for that, because that's just kind of a product of the game they're in. Like, Star Wars itself is very all light or all dark, and like I think Luke is kind of the only one who went gray, and then he kind of just like fucked off to nowhere. So
yeah, I think it doesn't really get explored in like the main canon, but a lot of the extended universe stuff looks at the idea of like a gray Jedi and be like, what does it mean when I try to walk the balance between the two? Which I think is a much more interesting question.
Yeah. Well, and like that was kind of what like if you look into the lore and stuff, like Luke technically does count as a Grey Walker, because he's not dark side, but he's definitely not a Jedi Knight.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
By their standards of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he seems to have this sort of like, I didn't ask for this sort of mentality.
Well, also just all of the attachments. They're like, have no attachment, and Luke's like, I have 5,000 friends on 5,000 planets, fuck you.
Yes, and I have a wife and a kid and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you must live alone. Like, Luke's sort of like, just like having a party with her, like, wait, what?
So it's like, I'm not a Jedi. I don't actually have to do that.
Yeah. But they kind of only, like, that's it. They don't really ever address it properly. So then when you get to all the games and stuff, it's like, well, unless you know anything about the EU, yeah, here's a concept we're introducing to you, I guess. I hope.
Right.
Good luck.
Right, and that's also one of those kind of coding issue things where it's like having 2 paths is one thing, having 3 paths is like 25 to 50% more work.
Yeah,
it's like that just sounds painful.
How long ago did Knights of the Old Republic come out?
Oh, it was a while back. Here, where are you, Wikipedia? Knights of the Old Republic. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Came out on Xbox in 2003, and then it came out for Windows later that year. So yeah, it's been a minute.
Just a few minutes.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem that long ago, though.
No, it's like I was talking with my brother the other day. It's like, hey, Diablo just had its 20th anniversary. What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I feel old.
Like, what?
So, question on the subject of you guys' video game piles. How many of those games, like, despite like sitting on half of them and not really having played them like thoroughly, how many times have you replayed your favorites?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not going to comment on that.
No, I will be entirely forthright with this. I'll be like I've played like Baldur's Gate 2. I've played multiple times, and that's like 100-hour RPG. I've played Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Borderlands 2. I've driven that game into the ground, and I still love it.
Okay, because I just realized it's like the favorite shirt dilemma. Like, I have like 5 or 6 shirts in my closet that I'm supposed to wear, and I wear the same 2 over and over kind of thing.
Right. And it's also one of those things like, do I want to go play what's probably like a mediocre match 3 game, or do I want to play Mass Effect 3 again? I'm probably going to want to play Mass Effect 3 again. So there's also a quality issue there. It's just like, there's only so many good games that I actually enjoy in the whole pile. Or would enjoy.
All right.
It's just like, oh, you game? What games have you played?
So, okay, I just looked.
Over and over, and then like 10 seconds of other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I realized, like, my brother and I, what were we looking for? I don't even remember. We were looking for a specific video game. Oh, we were looking for Sonic. We decided to replay Sonic Adventure Battle this last like Christmas break, and when we were looking for it, we were going through our GameCube games, like, where is it? And we had a huge ass pile, and like, I know for a fact there are at least 6 games in there that I like. Every time I see them, I'm like, when the fuck did we get this? I never played this.
Like, I don't even remember having this. What is this?
Like, one of them's like Surgeon Simulator or something like that. I was like, what the hell? Why would we get this? I blame my brother.
Yes, precisely.
GameCube Surgeon Simulator?
I don't remember. It was like a doctor something, but
Yeah.
it was what is this?
I don't understand.
It'd been like Trauma Center or something?
I don't know. It was like the cover had like a super anime kind of look. I don't know.
It was probably Trauma Center then.
Probably.
Because that game plays like a visual novel with surgery.
Why am I not surprised? My brother went out and bought a fucking visual novel for our GameCube. Yes, that is it. It is definitely 100% Trauma Center.
Didn't they do a version of that for the DS?
There was a DS one, and then there was Trauma Center Second Opinion for the Wii.
Yeah, I actually really liked that one. It was actually a lot of fun. But yeah, it was basically the visual novel where you realize that you'd be horrible as a surgeon.
Yeah, pretty much. You're supposed to be the best surgeon in the world, and you keep screwing things up.
You always screw it up. You're just like, how am I so bad at this?
But yeah, I'm looking at my Steam library right now, just on top of just like how often we play. Like, I've got like almost 170 games, and the one that has the most hours is Terraria, which is the very first PC game that I ever bought, like on my Steam account.
Yeah, well, Terraria is also one of those deep dark holes where you can definitely, put hours and hours into that, and it's just like, oh, where'd the day go?
Yeah. It's like Terraria, The Binding of Isaac, Skyrim, and both like Dark Souls 1 and 3.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dark Souls 1, that's kind of, I don't need to explain why it took me so many hours. Dark Souls 3 was significantly fewer because I played one before it.
Yes, and they've also tweaked a lot of things in between 1 and 3, so it's not quite as painful.
It was about this.
About the same?
I think,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe. Like, I thought that I just did better at Dark Souls 3 because I like sunk so many hours into Dark Souls 1
That's
and knew how the
entirely
game
possible.
played.
It may be like you just you had to figure it out the first time, but once you hit the ground on 3, you're just like, okay, I got this.
Yeah. Because it's like, when I got Dark Souls 1, like, all I knew is that it was a very hard game. And I was like, you know what, I'll check this out. It's like $2 on Steam right now. And I'll just play it, and I got thrown into it. It's like, oh my god, this game is impossible. How do I do this?
You and every other Dark Souls player that has ever approached it, you're like, why?
Hey, I beat my first Dark Souls boss.
Yeah.
Woo!
We sat down last month and played Dark Souls 3 for a little bit, and it was kind of enjoyable because it was like I was just watching Quill just learn how to play.
It's just like,
she's doing exactly what I did.
It's so adorable. I remember those times.
I felt kind of bad because it was 7 or 8 times into trying to kill the boss. I was like, all right, we should stop. This is obviously not doing anything for you, and I'm not getting anywhere. He's like, all right, one more time. And so I was realizing I tried to go into the boss fight with full health, and I was like, all right, I got hit once by the ghoul thing that was outside. I was like, okay, sure, we'll just run with this, whatever. So I went in with already not full health, and I beat it with a half a stitch of health left.
Right.
I was literally it transformed, and I was literally standing underneath it when I hit it. And I have no idea to this day how I managed to not die.
Yeah, if he nudged you, that would have been it.
Yeah, no, seriously, if it breathed on me wrong, I would have actually just died.
Right.
But it was,
I am alive!
yeah, but it was actually really enjoyable because it's just I'm pretty sure this is exactly what it would have looked like if someone else was watching me the first time I played Dark Souls.
Yeah, exactly.
And considering that, you learned a lot quicker than I did. It took me like a solid couple of weeks before I figured out how to beat the first boss.
To be fair, I do play like Monster Hunter, so I do have a vague understanding of how the game works with
Monster
like
Hunter is-
long ass fucking like, here, I'm gonna go drink a potion 5 years later. Like, okay, I'm done drinking my potion. I hope nobody kills me in the meantime.
Drinking the potion, and then your guys do the little pose like, yeah, I'm stronger now. And during that pose, he gets hit again and like loses more health than he gained.
Uh-huh.
No, yeah, that's like actually like my brother and I play the arena battles with the monster hunters, and for some of the monsters I'll play as the archer because we need a long distance and short distance, and like that was a very large learning curve for me because I usually play like melee weapons, but like to reload with the archer for some of the things, like the animation just takes forever, and it's always like
dear great
I'll do a
sweetness,
shot.
why?
Yeah, right. I'll make a shot and then I'll like reload and then it'll start charging me and I'm like, oh fuck.
Run. Other direction.
Like, you have been over there for 3 seconds. Leave me alone. Like,
It doesn't help that I use dual blades, which are like very hard to use if you don't know what. Like if it's your first time playing, it's like that's a very difficult. Like, that was a mistake that I made. It's like, oh, dual blades, I'm gonna do that. Got my ass handed to me quite a few times.
yeah. But I like playing with dual blades. It's so much fun.
Oh no, I do too. But it took me a while to actually learn how to use them properly.
Yeah. No, okay, but essentially, tip, if you want to play Dark Souls, but you don't want to get your ass beat entirely, go play a Monster Hunter game first, learn how to do, like, the long-ass animation things, and then you can go play Dark Souls. It helps.
That was actually why I picked up Monster Hunter, because it was like, at the time, Dark Souls 1 was I think Dark Souls 2 just came out, but anyway, like, I'd heard that, like, Monster Hunter was a little bit like Dark Souls. I'm like, hey, I'll get Monster Hunter 4. That just came out, so... We got way off topic.
So off topic.
It's whatever. It's just, like, I think at this point, like, topics are just kind of general suggestions, and then we just ramble on about whatever we want to.
I feel like one of these days. Okay, so our first milestone has been hit. Our second milestone will be when we manage to stay on topic for an entire video.
That might be like episode 50 or something.
I was gonna say we might finish a few other things before we get there.
just a couple of years down the line.
Woo!
Hey, we made it.
All right.
Oh, good. We managed to finish an entire episode on one topic.
And then we'll just be so old. It's like this is also the first milestone where we not only stayed on topic, but everybody stayed awake. It's just we're gonna be so old and decrepit.
I don't think it'll take us quite that long, but yeah, it might be a minute.
Yeah, I'm hyperbole, of course.
Okay then. Well, this is probably a good point for us to go ahead and wrap things up. So, as usual, you go ahead and let the people on the internet know where you are.
I'm on Tumblr at AnonyMouseWriter, ANONY-MOUSE-writer. And also I have Anonymouse Recall, same thing, for my Overwatch blog.
Alright, and you can find me on Tumblr at CapSaturn. It's cap-Saturn. I changed it just because it's a little bit easier to find. And on Steam, you can find me at Captain Saturn, 2 words. And then on Battle.net, you can find me at CapSaturn. Hold on. Well, I'm just at CapSaturn. I think at some point I'll tell you guys what the serial number is, because apparently you need that to actually add
Yes. You either need the Blizzard email or the username plus the 4-digit number. Otherwise, it's just like, I don't know what you're looking for.
Okay, it's CapSaturn, and then the number is 1344.
Saturn 1344. Okay.
Cool.
Join me. I need people to play Overwatch with.
And you can find me pretty much. You can find me pretty much everywhere as MonkeeBoom, 2 E's, no Y, over on YouTube, here on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you for joining us, and have a good day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.